Hello again, SVIVAH friends. It's been really a pleasure learning Megillat Ruth, the book of Ruth, with you and with Rabbanit Dalia and Naama this week. And we are up to chapter 4, the last chapter of the book. And the question that I want to ask about this chapter is, who is the hero of chapter 4? We've had a lot of heroes in the book of Ruth. We've had Ruth, who insists that she go with Naomi and she's not going to abandon her. We've got Boaz, who's able to see the good in Ruth and wants to help her. And we see perhaps Naomi, who encourages Ruth to take charge of her future and go to the granary at night. We can disagree about whether that was enacted heroism or if it was good advice. I loved what Naama said about taking advice from elders. And Ruth goes to the granary and Boaz says, I am going to marry you. I will take care of you. Just wait. So we had a very exciting chapter in the previous chapter in chapter 3. And now we're up to chapter 4 of Ruth. And in chapter 4 of Ruth, Boaz says, okay, I've got to go and take care of my obligations to Ruth. So it says, sorry, I had it a minute ago. Boaz went to the gate and sat down there. And now the Redeemer, whom Boaz had mentioned, passed by. So Boaz had said to Ruth, listen, I'm going to help you. I'd like to marry you. But there's actually a closer relative who can come and help you. And this refers back to Vayikra, Leviticus 25, where it says, if one of your kin is in straits and has to sell part of a holding, which is what happened to Naomi and her husband Elimelech, that they became very poor and they had to sell all of their property, the nearest redeemer, in other words, the closest relative, shall come and redeem what that relative has sold. So while Boaz is a close relative, there is a closer male relative. So he gets the first right to come and redeem the land and to marry Ruth. So Boaz goes to the sha'ar, to the gate, and the commentaries say that's because that's where the courts were located and Boaz was a judge. And he comes and he finds the closer relative, and then he takes 10 people from the elders of the town and tells them to sit down, like as a mini court. And he asks the Goel, the potential redeemer, if he is willing to redeem the land and Ruth. And in the end, the redeemer says no. And so Boaz, so they have a transaction so that Boaz now has the right to redeem the land and to redeem Ruth. And Boaz goes ahead and he marries Ruth and they have a baby. Mazel tov, and when they have this baby, it says, Boaz married Ruth, she became his wife, she bore a son, and all the women of Beit Lechem, remember the women who didn't know what to say to Naomi in the beginning, say to her, blessed be the Lord who has not withheld a redeemer from you today. May his name be perpetuated in Israel. He will renew your life and sustain your old age, for he is born of your daughter-in-law, who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons. And the women neighbors even give the baby a name, and they call him Oved. And Oved is the father of Yishai of Jesse, who is the father of King David. And in the future, the Messiah is going to come from this union. So it's a really beautiful story and a really lovely ending. But I have to say, compared to the first 3 chapters, it's a bit boring, right? Most of the chapter involves Boaz setting up a court, doing all kinds of legal maneuvers in order to become the redeemer, and all the legal side of it. And as a reader, you might say, I really don't need this chapter 4. Like, just tell me in a couple sentences, Boaz went, he decided that he was going to be the redeemer, there was another redeemer, didn't work, and they had a baby. And yet we've got a whole chapter that talks about all the legal maneuvers in order for Boaz to marry Ruth. And this is what I want to say. I want to say that perhaps the hero of the chapter 4, and perhaps even one of the main heroes of the book of Ruth, is not a person, It's the law. The law, in the end, takes care of people. The law in Vayikra, in Leviticus 25, told us that if somebody has to sell their property because they're so poor, that a relative has to come and help them. The law told us that if you own a field, then you have to put aside parts of the field for poor people to come, and you can't chase them off your land when they come. So hidden behind all of the book of Ruth, and I really think one of our SVIVAH teachers, actually two of our SVIVAH teachers, Rabbanit Chani Bloom and also Rabbi Wendy Amsel, were talking to me about this, is that the law is really one of the heroes here, because the law takes care of Naomi and Ruth. The law makes sure that they don't die from starvation, that they can get food. And the law also makes sure that in the end, a relative comes and helps them. And really, as I was thinking about this, I was thinking that what we really need is for the law to always be the hero. Like, it's really hard to wait for extraordinary people like Boaz and Ruth and Naomi to come and rely on the fact that they're just great people who go way out of their way to help others. What we really need is a law and adherence to the law. Because we have that law, we need adherence to the law, where everybody knows that the law is that we help the most vulnerable, and everybody complies with that law to help the most vulnerable. And I was thinking about that also in terms of other fantastic SVIVAH teachers like Dr. Gila Ben Shemal, who helps survivors of abuse, and many teachers who we've had who help the vulnerable, help other survivors, mental health professionals who do that as well. And I think it's wonderful that we have these great people who come and help. But I think we also have to insist that there be laws and regulations within society, within organizations, where we say people will be protected, even when there's not an extraordinary individual to come and help them. So I want to wish everybody a Chag Sameach, a happy, healthy Shavuot, and that together we can build a society where everyone can rely on the law, and that there are people who enforce that just law, so that we can all enjoy justice, even the most vulnerable among us. And as a kind of fun question at the end, since we're celebrating the law on Shavuot, I would ask you, what is your favorite mitzvah and why? Chag Sameach.